Throughout history, people have struggled to comprehend the flow of time and have produced countless systems for this purpose. Although the methods used have changed constantly over the ages, it is possible to say that the idea of dividing it into parts is always valid in order to follow this difficult concept. This is how calendar systems emerged that divide time into specific intervals such as days, months, and years. While preparing the calendars, the movements of the celestial bodies were always taken as a basis, and the astronomers of the period were consulted for the arrangement of the calendars. Accordingly, calendars can be classified as lunar calendars, solar calendars, and lunar solar calendars, depending on the movements of the moon or sun. Lunar calendars are based on the full phases of the moon, namely the synodic months. A synodic month, or conjunct month, refers to the time between two full moons. However, since the Earth continues to revolve around the Sun as the moon revolves around the Earth, this time is longer than the time it takes for the moon to complete 360-degree rotation around the Earth. Because the moon's orbit around the Earth is elliptical, the duration of the conjunct months is variable. The shortest conjunct month is 29 days 4 hours 19 minutes, while the longest conjunct month is 29 days 22 hours 19 minutes. Certain intercalations are needed when converting lunar calendars to solar calendars because the lunar year completes more quickly than the solar year, also called the tropical or seasonal year. These intercalations refer to specific time periods added so that the seasons and phases of the moon have correct synchronization. Solar calendars are calendars based on the Earth's complete revolution around the Sun. The Egyptians, who are thought to have used the first solar calendar, prepared a calendar lasting 365 days by accepting the reappearance of the star Sirius, which was not observed for a long time, coinciding with the flood of the Nile River, as the beginning of the year. Lunar solar calendars are calendars based on the movements of both the moon and the sun. In these calendars, the months are determined by the phases of the moon, and the years are determined by the solar year. However, the time required for the moon to return to the same phase, that is, a conjunction month, is approximately 29.5 days. A lunar year with 12 conjunct months lasts about 354 days. Because of the 11-day difference between a solar year and a solar year, the lunar solar calendars need an intercalation, adding the 13th month every 2 or 3 years. The earliest known example of a calendar is the recesses in Aberdeenshire, Scotland, which symbolize the movements of the moon and follow the lunar months. It is thought that the history of the remains found dates back to 8000 BC. Consisting of 12 cavities on a 54-meter-long arc, this primitive calendar includes an additional correction that, surprisingly for its period, resynchronizes it with the solar year at the winter solstice. This first known calendar system is an example of a lunar solar calendar, based on both the lunar phases and the solar year. It is thought that the main reason hunter-gatherers in Aberdeenshire excavated these burrows 10,000 years ago was to be able to follow the migration seasons of game animals and be able to prepare beforehand, as knowledge of what foods can be found at what time of year is crucial for survival in prehistoric hunter-gatherer societies. The most widely used calendar around the world today is the Gregorian calendar. Before talking about the Gregorian calendar, it is necessary to talk about the Roman calendar, which can be considered its ancestor, and then the Julian calendar. The Roman calendar is not a single calendar, but has undergone various arrangements over the years. The first arrangement to the Roman calendar was BC. It was made in 738 by Romulus, the first king of the Roman Empire. Organized according to the movements of the moon, this calendar takes most of its foundations from the ancient Greek calendar and consisted of 10 months beginning with March. The winter season was not included in this calendar because the people, who generally used the calendar for planting and harvesting, did not feel the need to keep track of the days or months because they could not farm in winter. Numa Pompilius, who ascended the throne after Romulus, found this absurd and added the months Januarius and Februarius to the end of the current calendar, equating the calendar with a lunar year of approximately 355 days. So he set the months to be 29 or 31 days, but to get 355 days, at least one of the months had to have an even number of days. To solve this problem, it was decided that the last month of the calendar, Februarius, should be 28 days. But that wasn't the only problem. While the movement of the moon was easy to follow, the lunar calendar failed to capture the cycle of the seasons and required constant intervention. In order to correct this situation, the Roman priests added a 27-day leap month named Mercedonius to the calendar when necessary. In 46 BC, Julius Caesar made major changes to the Roman calendar, creating the Julian calendar, which is named after him and is compatible with the solar year. The old Roman calendar was in such a confused state that it was necessary to return to the Julian calendar in the BC. The year 45 had to be 445 days. That's why BC. Its 45 years have gone down in history as the longest year that has ever lived, and is still referred to today as the Year of Confusion. Sosigenes devised a new calendar inspired by the Egyptian calendar and based entirely on the Earth's revolutions around the Sun. An extra day in leap years was added to the last month of the ancient Roman calendar, Februarius. The reason for using the leap year application is that the Earth completes one complete revolution around the Sun in 365 days and 6 hours. The reason for this error was that one complete revolution of the Earth around the Sun, that is, a tropical year, takes 365 days, 5 hours, 48 minutes and 45 seconds, not 365 days and 6 hours. We can say that this is how the Gregorian calendar was born. In the first part of our calendars series, we talked about the types of calendars, the first known calendar in the process from the formation of the Gregorian calendar, which is the most used calendar today. In our next article, we will talk about the Gregorian calendar and some other calendars that have been used throughout history.